I had one question. Some time ago I visited your website, and reading about you wrote about when you met your teacher, Francis Lucille, that the first you heard him saying was that meditation is saying yes to everything. And I think it hit me in many ways deeply, partially because it's not how I perceived meditation to be, coming from another tradition. But partially because understanding more about what you're talking now, I just wonder, to whom is that statement? Is it for the body-mind, or is it for the awareness? Because I think if it's awareness, probably don't need even to say yes to what's going on. But for body-mind, it makes like very irritating statement to say yes to everything.
Yeah. A statement like that is like you know, when I heard that statement, it was like it hit me like a thunderbolt. I had been practicing mantra meditation for over 20 years, so I was one of these focused, disciplined types that was trying to train my mind, first of all onto one object, and then from that one object to dissolve in its source. So I had very strong ideas about what meditation was, and it required an awful lot of effort. And when I heard this, it really blew my mind. I didn't think about the statement, meditation is a universal yes saying to everything. In other words, meditation is the natural condition of awareness. Awareness says yes to all experience in the same way that the space in this room says yes to everything that appears in it. It doesn't literally formulate the idea yes, but it says yes in the sense that it is indiscriminately open to all appearances, irrespective of the content of those appearances. And when I heard this statement, I realized, but this is already the case. That's how awareness already is. I don't have to spend 20 years on my mat making awareness open, available, unjudging, aware, infinite, impartial. It is already like that. I had been trying to make awareness like that for 20 years. And then I heard this statement, and in that moment I realized I am already like that. I mean, it just felt like the world was falling off my shoulders. Then it was just a matter of realigning my experience with the truth of that understanding. Because I had understood what was, I'd heard the words, but the words resonated in me. It was my experience. When I heard them, I realized, yes, that is my experience. I hadn't noticed it before. So that was, in a way, it was the end of one chapter. It was then the beginning of another series of chapters where I had to realign my experience. I had to explore that more. There were more revelations to come. And then I had to gradually realign my experience. Because my experience previously had been based on the fact I am this entity which says yes to some experiences and no to others. My whole life had been based on that fact. So there was a tremendous process of realignment that needed to take place. And in fact, that process of realignment is never ending. You can never really say that it comes to an end.
Yeah, I think it sounds like that statement is more like expression of pure awareness.
It's an expression. It's like a.
Yeah.
It's like a Mahavakya in the Indian tradition. It's like it's a statement of the truth, which, if you hear it at the right time, it just triggers this sudden understanding. And if you don't hear it, or rather if you don't understand it, you don't even notice it. It just seems like a totally banal statement that anybody could have made, a kind of statement that you hear anywhere on the spiritual circuit. You might have read similar statements like that dozens of times before, and you might hear someone say that, and it has no impression on you whatsoever. But at the right moment, if you hear it at the right moment, it's like an earthquake. And yet the person sitting next to you might hear it. They don't even notice it. It wasn't for them at that moment.
I was thinking also, is there some kind of more practical, everyday value in that as well, even from this mind-body?
Is there a more practical
value in that? I mean,
value?
Like validity in trying to have it like a kind of attitude in meeting situations and persons, checking if it's in line with maybe your insight about awareness, in sense that you meet situations or persons and just feel this no, like rejection, and then maybe you remember, what about this saying yes to everything? And maybe that just helps you to be aware about your blind spots you are going around with.
Yes, that's true. But saying that this universal yes, this unconditional yes that awareness says to all experience, doesn't preclude the possibility of saying no at the level of the mind. If you're walking along the street and you see somebody abusing a child, you don't have to say, oh, awareness says yes to everything, so... No. Because awareness says yes to the totality of the situation, which is both the incident of the person abusing child, but also your own responses. And the resistance you feel when you see such an event is not a resistance that comes from the ego. It's not a resistance that comes from the separate self, which is trying to defend or aggrandize itself. It is a resistance that comes from love and intelligence. Love and intelligence is, in the form of your mind, is saying no. That behavior is unacceptable. That behavior is not loving or intelligent. And your body and your mind are being used to express, in that moment, in that situation, love and intelligence. Now, what your body will do about the situation depends on... You might get involved in the situation. It might not be appropriate. But that is not a resistance that comes from... Well, ultimately, everything comes from awareness. But the no is a no that comes from love and intelligence. And there is room for that no in the universal yes of awareness. So what is important is to know whether this no comes from the ego or from love and intelligence. For instance, this situation I found myself in at the hotel last night. You know, I could have been outraged with the management. I could have gone downstairs and said, look, I've paid good money for this room, I've got this flimsy partition between us, and etc., 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 etc. But, you know, I just put my earplugs in. It was no big deal. It was humorous. So if there had been a big no in me, and then that would have been an opportunity for asking, where is this no coming from? I might also have gone down politely to the management and said, would you mind changing my room? I can't sleep, it's too noisy next door. That again would have been a completely legitimate no, that was not coming out of resistance. So you have to be sensitive. It's okay to say no. It's necessary to say no.
I guess it's important to be kind of clear about...
Exactly, where it comes from.
Yeah, where it comes from.
And in just the same way, sometimes to say yes to something could come out of fear or weakness, or for instance, you could... can't think of an example, but you could... somebody could ask you to do something, and you could say yes, but that yes could come from the fear of not being honest. You could be afraid of saying no. I'm sorry, I won't do that. So you say yes. That is not the yes, the true yes of awareness. It's a yes that comes from the separate self. It's a yes that comes from fear.
So saying no to the person actually would be saying yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Saying no to the person would be saying yes to the self in them, because you would be giving them a message that came from love and understanding, and that would be an opportunity for them to get in touch with that place of love and understanding in themselves.
Thank you.